Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back into Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network on a rainy Wednesday evening here in downtown Columbia. Good to be back with you, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, the professor, Tom Hayes, state man Graham Pope. I'm back after a overnight business trip to the home office in Jefferson City, Missouri, hard against the Missouri River. Those folks love their Missouri Tigers out there. That's all they got. It's a one-school state, really. I mean, you've got your Missouri State and your Southwest or Southeast Missouri State. You've got your derivative schools.
You got St. Louis.
No, they're all about the Missouri Tigers out there. I can tell you that. Everybody wears black and gold. Good to see the folks in the home office. Hey, Mac, I got good news for you and bad news for you. Good news is I didn't get fired on the trip.
I'm happy you didn't get fired. We were all wondering.
The bad news is you're going out there in 2 weeks, and I make no such promises for you.
Yeah, and I don't get the in and out. I've got to stay a couple of days, so they have a few days to mull over whether they're going to keep me around. So.
It was great. It was great. If I can talk internal business for a moment, the headquarters for Learfield News and Sports is awesome. Their operations center is incredible. You know, Learfield Sports, which is part of our Learfield family, has over 100 college play-by-play properties, and they're all produced out of this command center, the bottom of the headquarters there in Jefferson City. It is something to see, all the computers and the technical stuff that goes into it. Nice to put some faces with some names of people that we've talked to over the phone and through the internet for years and years and get a chance to meet them in person. So it's good to be back. And tonight we got a lot to talk about. First of all, after the break, I'll give you the latest news on Tevin Mack. I spoke with his mom just a little while ago, and she's updated me on where things stand. So stay tuned for that. We'll fill you in on that in just a moment. We have, of course, the RBC Heritage teeing off tomorrow. Jordan Spieth is there, the Masters champion. He's going to be the center of attention, though there are other great golfers who will be in the field as well. We'll be there starting tomorrow night and Friday night to cover that. And let's talk college baseball for a little bit.
Let's do.
Now, you were over with Chad Holbrook today. Boy, the Gamecock baseball team is in a funk of a decade or so. They haven't played this kind of baseball in a long time. And combine that with Clemson, guys, I mean, all of a sudden, instead of looking at two teams pretty much automatic for the NCAA tournament, totally on the bubble right now.
Well, not on the bubble. They're on the outside. Both teams are on the outside looking in the latest projections.
You got to look over at the College of Charleston and Coastal now.
How about Presbyterian, man? They beat Clemson. They come down and beat South Carolina last night. What a year they're having as well. 800-956-7266. Take your calls as well. Phone number 800-956-7266. Our email talkback@sportstalksc.com. On Twitter @SportsTalkSC. And the website is sportstalksc.com. On Facebook, Sports Talk Radio. You can communicate with us, and we will check out some of your tweets and some of your email, and we'll take your phone calls too. Your thoughts about baseball in our state as it pertains to USC and Clemson. How shocked are you? How shocked are you about where we are as we're turning the corner towards the last part of the season? The tournaments, the conference tournaments, are about a month away. So the teams are pretty much what they are at this point in time. I don't know that either one of them can find the formula to turn it around and make some sort of strong run here down the stretch. I mean, we're looking at two teams that might have to play in the play-in rounds of their respective conference tournaments.
Well, Clemson's in a little better shape, at least in the ACC standings. I will say this, where baseball is a little different than basketball and football, in the fact that a team can get hot. You know, a team, you can scuffle and it snowballs on you, but something can turn. And you will hear Chad Holbrook later, and he, you know, and maybe it's a superstitious part of the baseball coach in him that's coming out, but he says that he woke up thinking something's about to happen. They're going to play. He said they're going to play their best baseball, and he played the defending national champs. Maybe a ball bounces your way. Maybe you win that series, and that can be a catalyst where you go on that kind of run. Clemson has won 3 of its past 4. They've got a very winnable game tonight, a winnable series against Duke. Maybe they get a little momentum. I mean, there is reason to still believe that you can get hot at the right time and be playing your best ball at the end of the year. And in the big leagues, how many times have we seen a wild card team sneak into the playoffs, maybe in that play-in game, and then win the World Series? Look at the San Francisco Giants. It can happen in baseball more than any other sport, but it better happen soon. You're right. It better start happening soon.
It's rare to see a team, though, for whatever reason, that as soon as you say free baseball, they tend to choke. I mean, I have never seen a team like South Carolina struggle, bite, scratch, and tie a game only to get to the 10th inning or 11th inning and blow it. And, of course, last night they had the bases loaded with less than 2 out and couldn't get the winning run in.
Well, it's pretty apparent that South Carolina is suffering through a year where a number of players are having down years. Very few players are playing at their level or above. The pitching has not been up to par.
And Will Crow's done.
They have not developed midweek pitchers to step in a dependable way. And I know from the comments that Chad made to the media today, and we'll hear from him a little bit later on, but it was along the lines of, we're just going to throw Johnny Holstaff out there at Vanderbilt tomorrow night, and who's ever left will pitch on Friday, and who's ever left there will pitch on Saturday.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're going to start Wynkoop Friday, and he's going to be their new #1 starter. They just couldn't move him all the way up to a Thursday start.
Right.
But they're not going to hold anything back in games 1 and 2, and they can't. They have to approach every game where if you have an opportunity to win it, you go out there and win it, and then you get to the next one and try to win it. They have to win games now and worry about the next one after the fact. And that's the hole that they've dug. And Chad Holbrook was asked directly, you know, are you worried about missing the postseason? And he's said he's not necessarily worried about it, but they know that they are staring that in the face. And that's a big blow. But, you know, I do think the negativity surrounding the Gamecock baseball program, it's a little over the top. It's okay to be disappointed. Chad Holbrook's not going, hey, it's okay. We're fine. You know, he's not happy about it either.
Well, with high expectations comes high disappointment.
Right. But
when you don't meet those expectations,
it's absurd where people are emailing us and tweeting that, you know, why hasn't Ray Tanner needs to step in right now. Like there are people out there that would tell you with a straight face, Ray Tanner needs to go in there and fire Chad Holbrook today, which is insane. He's not even
saying tonight, last night.
Get rid of him. I mean, baseball is, you know, it's a cliche, but it's a weird game, and it can really snowball on you in a hurry. I don't think this is a trend. I know people say, well, each year they've gotten a little bit worse. Tanner had 3 straight years where they got a little bit worse, and then they got up again too. They went to Omaha 3 straight years and then scuffled around with some really great players, some really great talent. Now, he didn't get all the blame. They blame that Mark Calvi guy who is now a head coach and has a World Series championship. You always want somebody to blame, but I still think Chad Holbrook knows what he's doing. They haven't gotten it right this year. They haven't put it together, but that doesn't mean the program is done. That, that's it. Implode Carolina Stadium. Let's make a park.
You still have to, if you're a longtime follower of the program, you still have to take a step back and go, why is this happening? 3 years ago, within a strike maybe of getting to Omaha, losing in a super regional in Chapel Hill. Last year, losing a regional at home to a team like Maryland. This year, on the verge of not making the tournament. These are concerning questions to the fans, and they wonder because the recruiting, by all accounts, remains very strong. Yeah. Supposedly, they're signing terrific players, but they're not playing well. So much like at Clemson and at South Carolina, responsibility has to start with the head coach and trickle down through the staff. They have to be responsible for the performance and the preparation of their players. So the question is for both Clemson and South Carolina, is this just a bump in the road for South Carolina? For Clemson, even though they've showed a little bit of life here, let's see what happens moving forward. Yeah. This is 2 years in a row where maybe even more than that. You could really maybe say 3 years in a row where they are underachieving under Jack. Now, last year we all came to Jack's defense when Dan Radakovich, it appeared pretty obviously he wanted to fire him, but did not, and gave him another year here to see what he could do. Gave him less than a vote of confidence when asked about it a couple of weeks ago. Gave the old, we'll evaluate the program at the end of the season sort of deal. So you still wonder what Clemson has to do down the stretch in the postseason to satisfy the athletic director.
Well, the big thing I think for both teams is
I don't by any means now believe that Jack's job is safe.
No, I don't either.
2016.
No. And the key point is, do we see the ownership, the leadership in the dugout from the players? Because remember, there was a lot of times when Ray Tanner couldn't stand some of the antics his players did, but it helped the team. And he had to figure out, I'm learning from this team now what leadership is when I'm not.
Well, Ray had to learn to loosen up.
Yeah,
he'll tell you the first thing he had to learn was to loosen up. Now, in Chad's case, it's one thing when you're the guy recruiting all these players and you're the buddy with them and you're close to them in that form fashion, and you're the assistant coach and you don't have to do some of the things that the head coach has to do when it comes to dealing with players. Now you become the head coach and everything kind of changes.
Right.
I don't know if that's affected some things in the dugout and in the locker room.
I still say it's a small sample size. I mean, it's a little different with Clemson because it's kind of, I made the same point with Jack Leggett, and I still believe it. I don't think Jack Leggett's a bad coach. You don't win as many games as he's won and go to Omaha as many times as he's gone without knowing what he's doing. He didn't forget all that. Texas, Augie Garrido, is he a good coach? Because they've missed a postseason a few years. They've had down seasons. The year after UCLA won it all, they didn't make the postseason. Arizona. I mean, it is very difficult to do what South Carolina baseball has done. In fact, not many teams in history, no team in history had the kind of run they had in the postseason. Nobody in the history of college baseball has ever done that.
Straight wins,
that will probably never be touched again. No. LSU had a downtick. Florida, even under O'Sullivan, had a downtick. It happens in baseball. It happens, and you can have really good players that don't all come together, that aren't as good in the college game as they were. You get injuries. You don't panic, though. I mean, the great programs don't panic. They stick with it, and they come back.
This is what you don't want to happen, the self-fulfilling prophecy. When fans get down on the team, then they just spew venom. Players don't want to go there. It's on a downtick. Well, you created some of that, fans, with not supporting the team when they were down. If I'm an athlete, and I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it. If I know my fans either turn against me or root for me when I'm winning, I'm saying, get out. I don't need you, because you only for me when I'm winning. When I really need you when I'm down, you start to
welcome to the real world.
But that's my point.
These are supposed to be true fans that get mad at players for quitting.
Ought to be welcome to the real world and say, look,
the real world. We'll be back in a moment. Tevin Mack News coming up. 800-956-7266 is our number if you want to join in on the program tonight. Tevin Mack's mom spoke with her just a little while ago before we hit the air.
Uh-oh.
And the Dreer standout, as you know, back on the market after getting his release from VCU. Oklahoma State is coming in to see him on Sunday. He's got a awards banquet to go to on Sunday, and then Oklahoma State is coming in on Sunday. They have been in conversation, or she has, with Lamont Evans over at USC. In fact, talked to him today, and they do want to talk to Tevin, and they are still interested, she said. Georgia has been in touch and is interested once again. Of course, they've been in touch with Texas. She said that Shaka Smart is, of course, very interested. Clemson has not gotten the written release papers as of this afternoon from VCU, but they will be in contact when they get the papers. They can't contact until they have the release papers. North Carolina has been in touch, and Alabama is coming in on Friday to visit with them. According to Miss Mack, they like Shaka Smart in Texas. I asked her particularly about the thought that Texas might be automatic, and she said that they do favor Shaka, and also that Tevin grew up a Kevin Durant fan, and that's still his favorites. But he's going to weigh all his options and see where he best fits. And he said he wants to go and play. He doesn't want to sit the bench a lot. He wants to get some playing time, get exposure, she said. And being close to home or not close to home, no difference to either one of them, not a factor. She wants him to announce on May the 1st. That's his 18th birthday. But they have to talk about that. That's not anything that's been decided, but that's the date that she has in mind. So that is the latest on Mac. Schools are jumping in from all over the place, and it's a whole new world out there for him. While we're talking about basketball recruiting, a commitment to USC from earlier, Jamal Gregory, 6'4", from Washington, D.C., did sign his letter of intent today. Today's the first spring signing period. And 7-foot center Connor Clifford from Saddleback Junior College in California remains undecided, according to his coach. He's visited South Carolina, and he has visited Washington State. And his coach told us he might take one more visit before he makes a decision. Not sure where that would be. Oklahoma State has been mentioned, but we don't know if that's where it's going to be.
It's interesting you mentioned Oklahoma State with him and, of course, with Tevin Mack, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but Travis Ford was kind of teetering toward the end of the season.
I think he was.
Getting let go. One of the obvious calls that Tevin Mack, I suspect, will get a call. I would think he would, because if it's any team that has room at the end, it's Kentucky. I mean, didn't 7 people
don't bring them into the mix?
But I'm saying, and of course now, Duke is one of these one-and-done schools where they got 3 freshmen that's gone. So
Tyus Jones just announced today that he's leaving. The left-hander from Texas, Winslow, he's leaving, and of course the big guy's leaving. So they're losing them too. Listen, everybody's doing it if you can attract that kind of player. But I like the schools that go the old-fashioned way and get those 4-year players and build a real program.
Yeah, Greg Marshall has 2 senior guards starting next year.
We're excited about the weekend.
All right, back we are. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network coming up. USC baseball coach Chad Holbrook. I want to mention a couple of quick things here. USC women's golf team, they're having a great year. They're now up to number 2 in the golf stat relative rankings and number 5 in Golf Week as we start to head towards the postseason for men's and women's golf. Of course, the USC men's team has also been ranked inside the top 5 most of the year. Tiger Woods' agent, Mark Steinberg, told someone from ESPN that his client's wrist is fine after Woods injured it while on the 9th hole in the final round of the Masters. Woods, in an interview after the round, said that he had to put a bone back in place. Remember, he said that in the interview right afterwards on CBS, that it kind of popped out, but went out of place, and I put it back in, he said in that interview.
What, did he hit a root or something?
He hit a root of some sort, but apparently it's A-okay now. I still would like to see the video of him putting the bone back in the wrist. I mean, I saw him shaking his hand, kind of like you have a stinger or your funny bone. You're kind of, and it obviously looked like he was in a lot of pain.
Now, I put a finger back in before, but never a wrist.
Are you saying you don't trust Tiger's version of the events?
It's not like he hasn't misled people before. What else is going on? We mentioned Tyus Jones, the star guard from Duke, is going to enter the NBA draft, joining Justice Winslow and Jahlil Okafor from the Dukies. He averaged about 12 points, 6 assists per game this past season. Last night of the NBA regular season came back. Last chance for the Lakers to lose again this year.
Oh, good.
Think you're going to do it? Think you'll pull it off?
It doesn't really matter now.
Yeah. You get all the ping pong balls you can stand, huh? Braves lost today as their fortunes have turned dramatically in the last few days after getting off to that hot start. We'll talk with Mike Morgan about the Braves coming up here in just a little bit. But right now, our attention to USC baseball, as the Gamecocks were losers last night in 10 innings at home to Presbyterian, 7-4. Now they do have one of the nation's best teams, the defending national champions, coming in, Vanderbilt, for 3 starting tomorrow night. And Vandy is playing like a team that won a national championship and is looking for more. And K-Mac, you were over there with Chad Holbrook to listen to what he had to say.
Yeah, he's trying to keep that glass half full approach as the season slowly slips away.
We're excited about the weekend getting started. I can't wait to get back out on the field, and I hope my players feel the same way. I believe that they do. And it should be a great atmosphere here, and I hope it is. And like I said, we're going to need a great home field advantage to go along with playing our best baseball of the year to have a chance against Vanderbilt. And that's what I fully expect to have happen. And I think our fans will come out in force because they know we need them. And I think our players will give their best effort to play the best they possibly can this weekend.
I see on the release you still got TBA for Thursday night. Who are the possibilities?
I think Fiore is going to go Thursday night to start, get us off to a good start, hopefully. But we have some other guys ready. I mean, we'll probably use 3, 4, 5 guys maybe. But Fiore was a starter this summer in the Cape Cod League. He's been a reliever for us, and he's been chomping at the bit to get a start. And the situation that we're in, we think he's the best option to give the ball to, and with his experience and having pitched in big games before, and they got some awfully good hitters in there, some of which are left-handed, and we'll others are switch hitters. They got a well-rounded team, but Vince, we think, gives us the best chance to get us off to a good start tomorrow night.
Coach, how difficult has it been for you personally during this tough stretch, seeing your team struggle the way they have at certain times in the last couple of weeks?
Well, it's been difficult. It's not been any fun whatsoever. But I'm not going to sit here and feel sorry for myself or let our players feel sorry for themselves. It's not where we want to be. It's not the situation that we want to go through. But I'm also a big enough boy and understand baseball enough to know that it happens from time to time. And obviously we're not immune to it now. We've been immune to it for a long time. But the Texases, the LSUs, some of the greatest programs and coaches have gone through something similar. All I know is to keep working hard, keep a positive attitude, keep working our tail off, making sure our players have as much fun as possible on the field, and keep playing hard, and hopefully it'll turn around. That's all you can do, and that's all I'm going to do. We're in a situation that we're not used to and that we're not accustomed to, but we'll be back. We'll be back. I hope it's sooner rather than later, but we'll be fine.
Chad, you mentioned the atmosphere and SEC Network and all that stuff's going to be going this weekend. Is there any part of you that thinks, boy, this is not the best week to be under the microscope nationally with all you're dealing with?
I'm not a glass half empty guy. I get mad and sideways from time to time, but I'm not going to. I want them to be here all the time. And I want to be on national TV all the time. I want to showcase this stadium and our fan base all the time, whether they're playing good or playing bad. It's always great for your program and your kids and exposure to have your games on national TV. And it lets people across the country see what this program is all about, what our fans are all about, what our venue is all about. So I would like to be playing better just because I'd like to be playing better. And I'd like to be in a better spot. We're not. So let's try to put ourselves in a better spot and play. But no, there's nothing that makes me feel bad about them being here at this time. Heck no, they can come anytime they want, and we hopefully they come a lot more. And I think they're coming because of the success this program's had in the past and the rivalry that we've had with Vanderbilt and the competitive nature between the two teams. And it stinks with where we are right now, but it's still great to play in this venue on this stage and national TV against a great program. And a lot of times that tends to bring out the best in you. And I'm hopeful that's what will happen this weekend.
John, and then back to Neil.
I know there's still a lot of baseball left, but D1 baseball projections that came out today have y'all out of the NCAA tournament. Have you talked to the players about the fact that it's a possibility to miss that? Do they understand that it's a possibility to miss the NCAA tournament?
No, I think they understand that. They're smart enough to understand that. It's not a given that we're in the NCAA tournament every year. And if we're not in the NCAA tournament this year, this program's going to be okay. And our players will be okay. And we'll work our butts off to make sure that never happens again. But no, we're just playing for tomorrow and trying to play tomorrow, our best possibly game that we can. And then we'll play Friday. And the last thing that's even on my mind or even in my thoughts is what's going to go on in May or June. I'm worried about the psyche of my team today, and I'm worried about our opponent that we play tomorrow. We'll worry about that other stuff at a later time. But we've put our, the way we've played and the losses that we've had and the bumps that we've gone through, and we're in a tough spot. But South Carolina baseball and our baseball program will be fine. We'll be fine, and I think this weekend I have a good feeling that we'll play our best baseball of the year. I just have that feeling.
All right, Chad Holbrook from earlier today, getting ready for Vandy. Vandy actually, they've played great baseball all year, but they got beat by Belmont last night, 3-2. So it happens to the best of them. They've lost 3 in a row into this game because they lost, I think, 2 to Ole Miss to close out the weekend. They're still a team batting .300 on the season. So they swing it pretty well. They've hit 30 home runs, and, of course, the pitching team ERA of 3.0 run, and they got a bunch of hard throwers. Carson Fulmer's got 81 strikeouts. Philip Pfeiffer's got 51 strikeouts. John Kuchowski's got 46 strikeouts. They have those big pitchers that usually bring it with a lot of heat. Be a tough test for USC's pretty poor offense at this point. Okay, time for the Braves Report tonight, brought to you by Play It Again Sports off Bauer Park Parkway in Columbia, where you pay less for more, and by Founders Credit Union, helping South Carolinians attain their financial goals. Well, last time I talked to Mike, the Braves were undefeated. Since then, the worm has turned, and they lose today. So are these the real Braves of 2015 we're seeing now?
They are if Stoltz and Cahill are pitching. We talked about this last night. 1 through 3, I think, is really strong for the Braves rotation-wise, and the bullpen will be fine. 4 and 5 is an issue. Last night we saw Trevor Cahill. There's a reason why they got him on the cheap. I think they were hoping that they could, roll a 7 again on a bargain basement pickup, much like they did last year with Aaron Harang. So far, it's been snake eyes with Trevor Cahill. Was not effective. And then today, Stoltz, who they picked up from San Diego in one of the deals that the Braves and Padres made, just didn't have it. And when you give up that many early runs, Braves were down 5-0 in a blink of an eye. This offense is not potent enough to really overcome that more times than not. So that was really the story. Now, when you go back to the rotation, when this team resumes on Friday in Toronto, and you've got Tulio Tehran and you've got Shelby Miller going, then you feel better about things. But these games, when you get deep into that rotation, are going to be tall orders for this franchise.
Now, as far as closer, is this going to be closer by committee for the balance of the season, or do you see someone emerging as the everyday closer?
I think Grilly's the guy. I mean, I think Jim Johnson will certainly get his fair share, but I think they're gonna go with Grilly until he proves he can't handle it. He had signs of being a very good closer a few years ago in Pittsburgh, and then he was beset by some injuries. He's not young; he's 38, and obviously, whenever you have a closer of that age, you're always concerned that maybe he'll be a little bit too old for it. But so far, so good for Grilly and Johnson. They've been nearly unhittable. I think the back end of the bullpen's pretty good. The middle is a little soft. And again, as we just talked about, the final 2 spots in that rotation, shaky. And I don't think Mike Minor's coming back anytime soon. In fact, the more I hear it, it would shock me if you didn't see Mike Minor back this season. I wouldn't outrule it at this point. He just doesn't seem like he's ready to go right now. They've shut him down back in Orlando. So no sign that he's going to be back anytime soon.
Of course, a long way to go this season, but I wonder, has a major league team ever gone through a year and not have a player hit higher than 250?
It's a good question. I doubt it happens very often. 250. There was a time before the whole steroid thing and home runs went crazy, and of course now they're down again and across the board. I wonder what happened there. But before the McGuire Sosa years and Bonds and everything else, back then it was almost embarrassing if you hit below 250, even if you did hit home runs. It was embarrassing if you struck out 150 times, even if you did hit home runs. But the philosophy has changed so dramatically. Strikeouts have never been higher, and of course offense is down. So batting averages very, very often are down. It's a different game than what it was 10, 15 years ago. And you could say that to some extent in the college game as well.
Yeah, I bring that up because you look at the Braves numbers right now, and Johnny Gomes is the only one hitting over 250. He's batting 267 in terms of the regulars.
Yeah, now look, if Freddie Freeman doesn't hit 250, that's a news flash.
Yeah,
I mean, we're only a couple weeks in. But
right.
If that guy doesn't hit 250, then you might as well mail it in now. Braves don't have a prayer to do much of anything, but he's one guy that'll certainly hit above 250, and there's a couple others in that lineup that I think eventually will play better than they have thus far.
Mike, we appreciate it. Have yourself a good night. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Braves are off, as Mike mentioned, before they head to Toronto to take on the Blue Jays. Braves losers today, as we mentioned, to the Marlins 6-2. Also today, Washington doubled up Boston 10-5. Angels, no trouble with Texas 10-2. And Cleveland beat the White Sox 4-2. Couple of games just getting underway. Detroit and Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay and Toronto. All right, our Braves report here every night, or most every night, whenever Mike shows up. with Mike Morgan. We appreciate him being with us. Coming up, we got some recruiting news for you here on Sports Talk. We'll be right back. All right, let's go to recruiting. Once again, Tevin Mack speaking with his mom earlier today. Schools are jumping in. Oklahoma State coming in Sunday. Alabama's coming in on Friday. USC has been in touch. Clemson will get in touch when they get the release papers. Georgia has been in touch. Of course, Texas has also been in touch. North Carolina has also thrown its hat in the ring. His mother tells us that Texas is, of course, particularly special because he likes Shaka Smart and he grew up a Texas fan, likes Kevin Durant and all that. And the mom wants him to decide on his birthday coming up on May the 1st. And that's nothing official at this particular time. So there you go with Tevin Mack as he moves forward with his new decision-making process. USC signed 6'4" Jamal Gregory of Washington, D.C. He had previously committed. 7-foot center Connor Clifford of Saddleback Junior College in California. Undecided still between USC and Washington State. May take one more visit before he makes his decision. Furman announced the signings today of a couple of players. Forward Matt Rafferty of Hinsdale, Illinois, and guard Jonathan John of Gibsonton, Florida. Rafferty is 6'8", and John is 5'11". They join Andrew Brown of Travelers Rest and Jalen Williams of Wade Hampton as signees for Furman. And Presbyterian today signed guard Darius Moore from Brown Summit, North Carolina, and center Austin Venable of Homer, Georgia, and also forward John Majors from Upper Marlboro, Maryland. He is 6'6", 225, going to Presbyterian. USC has offered in the 2016 class 6'10" Sadiq Keita. This according to reporter Adam Zagoria from the Kids AAU coach. Cada attends 22 Feet Academy in Greenville. Syracuse, Iowa State, Tennessee are some of the other offers. Shelton Mitchell's going to visit Clemson this weekend, 6'2" guard who's transferring from Vanderbilt. Very interested in the Tigers once again. Also, NC State, Charlotte, and East Carolina are the other schools he's looking at. He's going to visit Clemson with his parents this weekend. He's always liked Clemson, liked them before he originally committed to Wake Forest, and might have gone there after leaving Wake, except for the rule that he'd have to sit out a year. So we'll see what happens this weekend when he goes to Clemson. The Tigers are also involved with a couple of other transferring players. Guard Marquise Reed from Robert Morris, Clemson, Southern Cal, UMass, and Tulsa, and Alabama transfer Ricky Tarrant is going to visit Memphis the 19th and Clemson on the 24th, and he has immediate eligibility. He is, of course, a very good shooting guard from the Crimson Tide. There you go with recruiting here on this Wednesday night, and we'll be right back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we're back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. From Columbia, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes. We come to you from our studios on Main Street, Columbia. Sports Talk, your sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Your most talked about, most listened to, most controversial, most informative, most creative sports talk show each and every night here in South Carolina. Glad you're with us. Up at Clemson, they are scoreless. The Tigers and Gardner-Webb, they are playing the top of the third inning, and it's Clayton Schmidt on the mound for the Tigers tonight, and he's pitching pretty well so far. He's only allowed one base runner. That was a walk. He has struck out 2 to this point. So the Tigers are trying to build on a little bit of the momentum that they have going for them at this particular time. South Carolina and Vanderbilt coming up tomorrow night in Columbia. Big 3-game series for both of these teams, in particular for South Carolina, because the Gamecocks have slipped play at 6 and 9, and it's just not clicking for them this year. 262 team batting average. Really, only 3 guys now that you would say have perhaps exceeded expectations. Certainly Elliott Caldwell's having a great year. 375 batting average. I'm not sure anybody saw that coming. Kyle Martin batting 374. I'm not sure anybody thought he would hit with that kind of average. Maybe some power. You expected the home runs. He's got 8 home runs, but the 374 batting average is pretty good. Max Schrock has gotten himself back in gear. He's batting 317, but then it drops off dramatically. I know Gene Cone it's not bad, 286 for him. He gets on base a lot. He's been on base practically every game this year. But then Jordan Gore at 272. Destino got off to the good start, 245, a freshman. But then they're getting nothing out of third base from Arendis. They're getting nothing out of their catching spot. They're not getting any offense from their shortstop position either. So they just got a lot of holes out there that have not been filled as this season has gone on. Just not getting production from some key areas.
And they're not getting the big hit. That's the key, because we've seen them struggle at the plate before, but for whatever reason, when they needed the big hit, they got it, especially with 2 out, which has gone lacking, especially after the sweep of Kentucky. It seems that the big hits have overdue for South Carolina.
And then the flip side, too, the pitching, again, as has been noted, of course, they've lost Crow for the year. His ERA climbed to almost 5. When's the last time a USC Friday night starter had an ERA
he was hurt.
Almost 5?
Yeah, I think we know why now. I mean,
was he pitching? I wasn't there for the news conference with him. Was he pitching hurt for a long time? Was that affecting his performance?
Chad mentioned today that he felt that probably had something to do with it. He was pitching hurt and didn't know it, and then they take a closer look and go, okay, yeah, you're having some problems. He was not the same guy that he was when he was mowing down guys against Charleston and Kentucky at the beginning of the season.
We'll be back. More sports talk coming up. Phone number here on Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. Coming up, we're going to hear from Jordan Spieth, Masters champ in Harbortown, getting ready for the RBC Heritage, which tees off in the morning. It's one of his favorite tournaments. He played in that tournament before he became known on the tour, before he emerged as a winner, not just of a major, but just of any kind of a tournament. So he's got a fond place in his heart for the tournament. And the Pro-Am today was cut short due to the weather. I think the weather's kind of going to be a little iffy. But the winners today were in the morning wave. The winners were Bill Haas with Scott Harrelson, David Ridley, Mike Wilson, and Tony Parasita. They shot, I guess, a net of 55. Kevin Streelman's team finished second, and Billy Horschel's team finished third. And then the afternoon wave was cut short due to the weather. So they have front nine winners and back nine winners. And the front nine winners, the pro was Ben Martin, and he was joined by amateurs Bill Dunn, Rob Saunders, Eric Wasserstrom, and Alan Wasserstrom. They shot 28. Stephen Bowditch, his team finished second. Stuart Sink's team finished third. On the back nine, the winners, Jason Duffner's team with David Thor, David Thor, Mario Torchia, and Tim Stetzer. Freddie Jacobson's teams finished second, and Ian Poulter's team finished third. I think Spurrier was playing in that down there today. So the weather, a little bit of a factor there this afternoon. It's supposed to be a bit of a factor coming up for the next couple of days. We'll be down there, of course, to provide coverage for you here on Sports Talk beginning tomorrow night. And we're here from the Masters champion coming up in a little bit. Let's go to the phones, and it's Danny and Dylan with us next here on Sports Talk. Hello, Danny. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How's everything?
Hey, I got a question that's concerning high school baseball. Could I get your opinions on this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm from Dillon, and I got a grandson that plays baseball over in Lakeview. Okay, this is his second year of playing. Okay, last year he said the bench, I understand, because there was he's not the only one. There's like 5 or 6 others on there also. They said the bench because of seniors, on the team, which is understandable. Okay, last year they graduated. They was all excited about getting the start this year. Okay, this year rolls around, to go out and scout players from other schools, and it's like 8 or 9 players on the team now are not even from Lakeview. And the 5 or 6 that was looking forward to getting to play is not getting to play, and they kind of depressed. And I kind of think it's wrong, but I just wanted to get your opinion on that and see what you thought about that. And by the way, yesterday Lida beat them 11-1 in a mercy rule, and but I just want to get your opinion on that.
Well, let me ask you a question. So you're saying where are the players coming from? If they don't go to Lakeview, they go to Lakeview High School, don't they?
Yes, sir. They're from Marion and Mullins and PD Academy and Fairmont, North Carolina. You got several players from Dillon coming up there. They're putting on the field in front of the guys, that's been sitting the bench.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just my grandson. It's about 5 or 6 other players. And I think it's wrong, but I don't get to go because I'm up the road now in the truck. And I just hate it for him.
Yeah.
Because I just hate it.
Well, first of all, there are transfer rules and residency rules for players that change schools. So, they would have to have been approved by the high school league as a transfer, as legitimate transfer before they could play. And, unfortunately, transfers, they do come and they do go. I'm sorry that it impacts your grandson and others in this way. I can't speak for, what has happened there, why they've had such an influx of new players come in. Who knows? Maybe it's related to families moving or jobs changing, things of that nature. But, you know, if you have a concern with it, you should go to the athletic director at the school. That would be Jackie Hayes over in Dillon. It is a unique situation over there in Dillon County. Many of you may not know this, but Lakeview High School is actually run, and I'm talking loosely here. You may know more, Pro, but Dillon High School actually runs Lakeview High School. They took it over a couple of years ago. Jackie Hayes is actually the athletic director for both schools. And, you know, there does tend to be some student movement between the two schools for whatever reason. Athletically, academically, whatever the case may be, that does happen between those two schools because they are in the same school district. Unlike Latta, which is its own school district. Latta has its own school district, so it's independent of the other schools in Dillon County. So anyway, appreciate your phone call. And can't say I'm not happy that Latta thumped Lakeview yesterday. That probably clinches the region championship for Latta. Very good baseball team. They're in the home of champions. We'll make another strong run until they run into a private school that gets players from all over the country.
Well, it seems now that even coaches at the high school level are under a lot of pressure to win. And that means –
tell me a level where any coach – I mean, a Little League coach is under pressure. He's under pressure from the parents. Every coach at every level is under some sort of pressure to win.
But I think probably when you go to lower levels, a lot of the pressure used to be self-induced. Now it's from parents and administrators and all this other stuff. So if the pressure is to win, and you got an area where, Phil, let's face it, the end round, and I think it's kind of tight to point any place in South Carolina where population numbers aren't in flux going up. So that means a lot of new kids and transfers, and unfortunately, that also can mean that some kids who waited around and thought they're going to play, if they find a more talented individual or individuals, they're going to play those kids.
That's always the case. I mean, the better players come in, and even the guys who've been in the program for the longest and have worked hard and feel like it's their turn, you know, the coach is going to play who they think can get the job done for them. Thanks for your phone call. We appreciate it. 800-956-7266, which kind of takes me to my next subject, and that is, once again this year, the hundreds of college basketball players who are transferring. And is this going to end? Should it end? Should there be something done? Should there be something? I mean, you know, a player loses his coach, like in the case of Alabama. They lose their coach, and now they've lost a couple of guys transferring. I mentioned the one player looking at Clemson and some others. And, you know, the thinking is, well, you know, he doesn't want to deal with a new coach coming in and all that. But if you transfer somewhere else, you're going to be dealing with a new coach and a new system and starting over again. You know, the players today apparently have even though they've been in the program 2 or 3 years, they apparently don't feel like they have any ownership in the school through their education, much less the basketball team, to where they want to up and leave, and they're close to finishing up their college degree at that school. It doesn't matter to them. They'll go somewhere else. I think that's kind of crazy. I mean, if I've put, you know, 3 years in a school, maybe 4 if I redshirted, if I put that much time in a place, I want to stay there and get my degree from that place, not just up and leave because a new coach comes in.
Yeah, it's difficult, but I agree in part with Coach Martin that a lot of it starts at high school level now, where kid wants this academic service, so he moves to this school. He's not getting the playing time. He doesn't like the coach using maybe more of a front court orientation.
Yeah, but moving to another school and another coach is not going to automatically guarantee that you're going to like his system or get playing time.
But kids always think change is for the better. They never think of the negative. They always think change is better.
800-956-7266 is our phone number. In our email, Greg writes about USC baseball. I've been unsure of Holbrook from the moment he was given the keys to the Carolina program. I clearly understand Omaha is not realistic every season, and Tanner had a few rough seasons here and there, but we are seeing a clear decline in the program, and that falls squarely on Holbrook. Next year, Carolina loses Martin, Caldwell, and Schrock. Yeah, about 70% of this year's offense, he writes. So things aren't going to be any easier. Can't believe Holbrook was given an extension after ending the season so poorly last year. We should have gone after Monty Lee or Jim Toman instead of settling on a buddy hire.
The grass is all a buddy hire. What would have Monty Lee been? I mean, Chad Holbrook was the guy that had coaching jobs to stay at South Carolina as an assistant for a job that he wanted. And you know what? 3-4 years from now, if you're having this conversation, fine, then it's legitimate. But 2.5 years into his tenure, it is not fair because it was going to come down. You knew they were going to come down from where they were when he took over the program. By the way, that he helped get to that level. He helped get to that level where they won all those games and won those national championships. He was a big part of that. People forget that. He wasn't just some guy that stumbled into the job off the street. And I really think that they're going to be okay. Justin Smoke, how many College World Series did he play in? In Reese Havens. You know, they won 56 games one year under Tanner and didn't go to Omaha. People forget that Tanner, a Hall of Fame coach, yes, but he lost some games at South Carolina. There were weeks and seasons where they had to win their last game just to get into the SEC tournament. I mean, remember the Reese Havens home run against Tennessee on Sunday, one of the last games at Sarge Fry Field? Yeah. He doesn't hit that home run. They don't go to the SEC tournament. They probably don't go to a regional. I mean, so let's see what happens for the rest of this season, first of all, and then go from there and then see what happens next year. But I think it's very unfair, and really, I think you should be disappointed if you are bailing on a coach and on a team with 18 games left in the season. I mean, that's the equivalent of a team quitting at halftime. Oh, we're down 20 points. Let's quit. I mean, you don't give up.
Yeah, I'm not so certain that when we look at the major team sports in men's athletics at its highest level, if college baseball is not the most cyclical of all, no matter what you do. Now, there's some teams in baseball and I mean in basketball and football that's always going to be there for whatever reason. But baseball, talent, otherwise, pitching this year, somebody gets hurt or whatever. I'm not so certain that it's not the most cyclical sport in of the major three sports.
It's what happens when you get spoiled, people.
Yes.
You've been spoiled. You know, it's not a birthright to win a regional. It's not a birthright to win a super regional or to go to Omaha. And you act like, you know, it's owed to you, but it's not. But I will say this now. I mean, a big backup is something that is not expected of a USC baseball team in any particular season. All right, Jordan Spieth coming up in just a little bit from Harbortown, RBC Heritage. We'll get to that in a little bit. More of your phone calls, 800-956-7266. I want to take time out, as we do from time to time here on Sports Talk, to welcome in a partner of the program, Charlie Elebash, who is the Public Awareness Manager for South Carolina 811. She joins us now. Charlie, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Hey, we're doing great. Good to have you with us. Now, we know what 911 is. Everybody knows what that is. But when we say South Carolina 811, what are we talking about?
811 is the national call before you dig number. So whenever you dial 811 in any state, you'll be directed to your state's one call center. And what we do is we provide the information to the utility companies when an excavator is planning on digging to let them know that someone's digging. And then they go out and mark the line so that you know where it's safe to dig.
You know, I've often thought about that because we all dig around our house. You know, you're going to bury a post, or you're going to put up a fence, or you want to just dig something up out of your yard. Now, when we're talking about digging, how deep are we talking about to where you need to call before you dig? Like, we're talking like a foot, a half a foot. If you're going to go down 2 feet, is there some minimum limit you should consider if you're going to make a call?
Well, all utilities are installed at different depths. And so because of erosion and things like that, they may not be as deep as they were initially installed at. And so we tell everybody to call regardless of how shallow they're digging, even if they're just putting in a garden. It's just best to always call because it is a free service. When you call 811, it's completely free to have those lines marked. So it's really in your best interest. It's the safest thing to do so you don't, end up hitting an electric line or a gas line and injuring yourself or knocking out the power of the whole neighborhood. So it's something that we say, no matter how shallow you're going, just to go ahead and give us a call. It's free. So you might as well do it.
Yeah, you save yourself a lot of headache in terms of messing things up. Do you face any kind of a fine if you cut a line or cut a gas line or electric line or something like that?
In the law, there's a $1,000 fine. But certain lines, if you hit like a fiber optic line or something like pretty major, the utility company may also charge you for that. And those can be pretty hefty utility repair costs. So, the $1,000 fine in addition to what may actually, be charged to you for hitting that line.
So when a customer calls in or a consumer calls in, I mean, what kind of questions will they be asked? What kind of information should they be ready to provide?
Mostly just basic information about the dig site location, where on the property they're planning on digging, their address. It's pretty basic. So it's a pretty easy process. And, just make sure you give us a call 3 full business days in advance.
3 full business days. So typically you make the phone call and within 3 business days, they'll be out to make to mark the areas where you're going to dig. That's
right. Yes. If you're planning on doing weekend work, give us a call on a Monday or Tuesday and everything will be ready for that weekend.
Well, what's the response? How many people around South Carolina actually make that call before they dig?
Well, on average, we get about 600,000 locates a year.
Ooh.
So there's a lot, but there's obviously a lot more that people can be doing. We hear about, I'm at home shows very often, and people tell me all the time that they learned about 811 the hard way, where they hit something and then they learned about it. So I know people aren't all doing it, but it's definitely the safest thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So 811, you hit that, you dial that, and it directs you to the call center. It takes you right to the heart of things.
And we also have a website that you can enter your locates online, and we also have an Android app. We're waiting on the Apple app to be developed, but we have those other methods as well.
What's the website?
sc811.com.
That's easy enough. sc811.com. And again, just remember to call 811 before you dig, and that'll take care of all your concerns.
Right.
Well, best of luck with this, and we thank you for being with us and being a part of Sports Talk, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, that sounds great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Charlie Elebash, Public Awareness Manager, South Carolina, 811. Yeah, I'm one of those fools who has dug. I'm not going to do it anymore now that I know better, but I have dug in my yard without.
I like to avoid digging in general, so that's always a good excuse.
Yeah.
If my wife, hey, look, we need to call.
Go dig a hole.
Yeah. So you really should call, because I've had been in a neighborhood where somebody didn't do that and it caused Major
What they
problems.
cut? Gas line or phone line?
Gas line.
Gas line.
Yeah, and that turns into a big situation, and the fines are very real.
Well,
and it's very I mean, look what happened in New York City where the gas line was. You got to pay attention.
Very dangerous.
Well,
Very
some
dangerous.
neighborhoods of Columbia, you dig and find a live military shell.
Clemson is out in front of Gardner-Webb, 5-1. The Tigers with 4 runs in the third. Duggar had a 2-run double. Krieger had an RBI single, and Rollman, who's been red hot for them, he had an RBI single. And in the fourth, Batson, who's now playing some third base for them, he had an RBI single. So Jack he's made some changes in his lineup here of late. Tonight he started White at short, per usual, Duggar in right. Krieger at wait a minute. Krieger started at second tonight.
He's back out in the
Yeah,
field.
not at DH. He started at second tonight. Roman out in left, Okie behind the plate. He's been red hot. Pender's your DH tonight. Slayton in center, Batson at third, replacing Weston, who's been really slumping, and Cox at first. But the big news is Krieger starting in the infield for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, it is.
And obviously they feel like him playing second base with his shoulder, he can make that throw to second base. Yeah, now you have to wonder when he has to, say, turn a double play and he's going across the bag and is going to throw back across his body, how his shoulder is going to handle that. But that certainly is good news. And on the mound tonight, it's been Clark for the Tigers, and he's been very good so far. He's given up the 1 earned run. He's given up 1 walk, 2 hits in 4 innings. So the Tigers are cruising right now over Gardner-Webb, 5-1. And the Braves lost earlier today, and so their hot start has kind of cooled off here.
But they're still in first place
By half a game
in
over
the NL East. The Dodgers are a game out of the lead in the NL West. And where are the Yankees in the AL East standings?
We're still in the East.
Yeah. Go through the top 4 teams, and then I stop scanning the standings.
We've won 3 games this year. Okay,
Yeah,
we've won 1 game in each series so far. I think that's how many series will we play this year? About
3, I think.
No. How many total series will you play in 162 games? If you win 1 game per series, you're going to win how many games?
To win about 50 games.
50-something games.
Yeah,
So
I put the over-under on the Yankees right now about 75.
I'm not going to debate you on that. We're not very good. We're terrible defensively. Pitching has not been good so far. Sabathia can't win.
He wasn't terrible.
We got old. We got old and rickety all at the same time.
Well, again, when you
haven't replaced people with good people. I mean,
those big loaded contracts, it's hard to get rid of.
When you sign those free agents, that's what the Braves thought about when they did all they did. They said, you know what?
Well, look,
when we sign a bunch of people to contracts, that means that our farm system has gone to pot. And what did they do? They said, look, we're going to take a hit because we're going to replenish the farm system. Now they have one of the top 5 farm systems.
You go back to the last World Series team a few years ago. We're worse off at catcher. We're worse off at second. We're worse off at short. A-Rod played third last night. We'll see what happens with him. I've actually been pleased with the way he's played.
The Sandman is gone.
Ellsbury has not been great. He's not been great. He's been very average since he got to New York. Brett Gardner has been the Yankees' best player last couple of years, moving forward here. And Beltran he's old and over the hill.
What's going on? Yeah, he's a guy that, for whatever reason, he plays in New York and he stinks. He stunk with the Mets, and then he went to St. Louis. Something happens when you go to St. Louis.
I will say
Midwestern values, they all just play out of their
This is a team that is not going to score many runs, but we do have a very good bullpen. And if we can get
Rivera still coming out of there, and
we got the Miller, we got Andrew Miller who throws 97, 98.
John Wetland coming back.
We got Potensis to set him up, and we've got some good arms, but our starting pitching is very suspect. But the end of our bullpen is good if we can get there with a lead.
Yeah, it was, obviously winning the Masters was a dream come true and something I'll never forget. I'll never forget the first one. Hopefully there's more. It was
Coastal Carolina won the Big South Women's Golf Tournament. Number 1 seed going in, wrapped up that championship today. Charleston Southern finished 3rd. And action gets underway in the morning at Harbortown. It's the 47th RBC Heritage presented by Boeing. It's going to be another great weekend of golf. They plan to do a flyover over the 18th green, one of those big Boeing jets coming out of Charleston. If the weather is good, they'll do that on Friday. All eyes will be on Jordan Spieth, the Masters champ. From time to time, we do get the Masters champion over at Harbortown. Oftentimes, they will go ahead and play. Some choose not to because they want to rest and relax and get away from things for a little while. It's been a crazy week for Spieth since winning in Augusta. He's been to New York. He's been on all kind of television and radio shows and interviews, this, that, and the other. He's been doing pretty much everything but thinking about his golf game. Now he can do that, and he's happy to be back at Harbortown for a chance to play there. But, of course, he's very happy to have that green jacket with him.
Yeah, it was, obviously winning the Masters was a dream come true and something I'll never forget. I'll never forget the first one. Hopefully there's more. It was such an incredible week, such a great team effort. Everybody was the best in the world, and they freed me and Michael up to just go do our job on the course. And, and we did our best work. So after that came the media in New York. We had, I think it was like 25 or 26 different stops in 25 hours, which was a little crazy, especially after the 3 weeks in a row of kind of being draining already. But we had a great time with it. It was really cool. It was cool to experience that different side and to see the impact that the Masters has internationally, and not only in the golf community. And it just shows the interest into golf and how it's growing. And I got to experience that firsthand, and it was awesome, as well as sharing my own story. So all in all, it's awesome. I was very much looking forward to getting back here, getting on solid ground and taking a deep breath, and it's been nice. I'm really looking forward to this week. This is a tournament that I love. Of course, I think suits my game, and I've had just a great experience at this at the Heritage in the 2 years I've played.
At your last four starts, you have 2 wins, 2 runner-up finishes. You win the green jacket, and you're also the youngest player to ever lead the FedEx Cup. Have you had a chance to sort of reevaluate your goals for the rest of the year?
Not necessarily yet. No, I really haven't. That was kind of the highest goal, was to try and win the Masters. And at this point, to lead the FedEx Cup is an incredible honor. It's something that you have to, in order to stay in that position, like Jimmy has for the majority of the last 2 years, you have to continue to play tremendous golf, win tournaments, certainly be in contention a lot. And winning the FedEx Cup would be an incredible feat this year. That would, as well as having a significant focus on the majors and World Golf Championships. So it's going to be cool seeing Michael have that bib that's different than the rest. And with that, there comes added expectations that we put on ourselves. So wouldn't rather be in any other position right now, though.
All right, great. We'll open it up to questions. If you'll raise your hand, we'll get the microphone. We'll start with Ron right here. Yes, please.
Jordan, we've seen the video of you as a kid talking about winning the Masters and the letters you've written. Have you had time to figure out if the reality exceeds what your dreams were?
Yeah, it definitely does. And that started just walking up 18 on Sunday. And I realized that this is actually going to be cooler than I ever could have dreamt it being, just the feeling that I had then. And since then, it's amazing that you can pull these videos and letters from who knows where. But it's obviously something. I wasn't lying to you when I said that was my dream, was to win the Masters. It's obviously proof, because you see it from when I was 14. You see it from letters when I was 16. When I was, and I've said it since then as well. So it just proves kind of how badly we wanted this tournament. Almost wanted it too bad last year, and I didn't just let things fall into place. And this year, we just, for whatever reason, we're more mentally strong than I've ever been.
All right, Jordan Spieth. Everybody is on his bandwagon now. Well, there should be, because he's a good chance to say this on Monday night before we ran out of time. We were talking about Spieth and McIlroy. And keep in mind that when McIlroy won his first major, okay, and he did so in impressive fashion, didn't win another major for 6 tries. So keep in mind that with Spieth, people are going to expect him to go out and win the Open.
That's less than 2 years.
But remember, people were writing about Rory and wondering, what's happened to Rory McIlroy? Why is he not winning these majors? I mean, Jordan Spieth might win the Grand Slam this year. I'm just saying, let's don't be so quick to anoint everybody as being the next slice of bread.
I think that's what people like to do. They like to anoint so they can knock your block off. Hey, this guy's great. Oh,
now we can knock him off. But you can tell every now and then something special comes along, and you can just see, like, this guy has something that other guys don't have. There's one thing to have a lot of talent. He has something else. He has that mental game. There aren't a lot of 21-year-olds that can handle the pressure of Augusta National for 4 straight days, guys making runs at him like Phil Mickelson and Rory McIlroy, and just to have ice water going through his veins and make shot after shot. And he was playing well before. I mean, this guy isn't a flash in the pan. And you're right, he could peter out. He could rip his back in 2 pieces in Harbortown this week. He'd fall into the marsh and get washed out.
Alligator could buy him.
Well, I have
the 747 might, drop an engine on him.
I have a problem because I look at unlike things and try to figure out why a person is the way they are. First thing you look at with Jordan Spieth is, quite frankly, he looks like an old 21. I mean, look at his hairline.
Well, he's not going
to. Now you're going to talk about the guy needs some Rogaine. This guy doesn't have any hair.
No. What I'm saying is, some guys mature faster, and one of the ways you see that is their hairlines
they lose their hair
early. Yeah,
that's what's happening to us.
Hey, the tee times tomorrow. If you are headed to Harbortown, Spieth, and this will have I'm sure a big following. He is going to tee off on number 1 in the afternoon. He's going off at, I just saw it. There he is. He's going off at 12:40 off number 1 with Patrick Reed and Matt Kuchar. Now, let's see, just picking out a few of the other notables. Ricky Barnes will go off on number 1 at noon. Of course, they go off on both sides simultaneously. Bill McGirt will go off at 8:40 on number 10. Russell Henley from Charleston off number 10 at 8:20. Here's a good pairing. Brant Snedeker, Zach Johnson, and Ian Poulter. You'll be following that, K-Mac. They go off number 10.
Zach Johnson. Zach Johnson's the guy that could win at Harbortown, certainly.
Scott Brown from Aiken goes off at 7:40 on number 10. The first tee times are at 7:10 in the morning.
What time does Tiger tee off?
Tiger's only played there one time. He needs to get his
This would be a
butt
good
over
time for him to come back. He's not a big hitter now. He could work on a short game a little bit.
Webb Simpson, Graham McDowell, and Ernie Els are going to play together at 12:50. They'll go off at number 1. Tom Watson.
Tom Watson's winner right there, Ernie Els.
Yeah. Davis is he's in there somewhere. I think he's playing.
Ernie Els, Davis Love. You got to keep an eye on those guys at Harbortown.
Especially Davis Love.
Yeah,
I mean, he can play this course blindfolded.
Jonathan Boyd's in the field again, as is Lucas Glover. We'll have it all covered tomorrow night here on Sports Talk. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, K-Mac, Pro, Steak Man. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow night from Columbia and Harbortown.